every little thing, every precious thing. Packed with quality of life focused changes and systems to make the game truly enjoyable. Level 3 link skills, familiar system revamp, new class Ren, updated Starforce system, pitch pity system, race restorations, and much more. Players were eagerly waiting for the arrival of the patch, to break through limits, set a higher standard, some perhaps to rekindle the flame of enthusiasm for the game, while others simply for more comfort. This patch was clearly meant to make the gameplay quality top-notch to progress through, all the while setting a new ceiling for all players to strive for and reach. If you don't know who I am, all you need to know is I am an endgame player in the heroic servers. If you do know who I am, I apologize in advance because this video is not going to follow the same theme as my last ones, meaning this will not be canon related, because you know why. Instead, I'll be talking about what I think is good and bad about these new PT systems, and try and convey my concerns regarding them through my point of view. I implore you to genuinely hear my concerns, as some of them may be an eye-opener when considering the long-term health of the game. On the night of the ELT EPT patch, like most players, I got really excited seeing the new features that are coming up for this patch. Level 3 link skills, 3 different systems to acquire and restore items, including pitched boss equips, Starforce restoration adjustments, familiar system revamp. Nobody is able to deny this, but all of these are good, plain and simple. No more freak accidents of running the same boss for 7 years with only 1 drop ever since. So, as I usually like to do between patches, I started brainstorming ideas of how these could turn out, positive and negative, and how they should be implemented into heroic servers. As a result, I ended up setting certain expectations for the coming patch, such as pitch pity shop with reasonable prices / number of drops from bosses of the fragments, decent drop rates of star cores from hunting monsters, and unlimited accumulation of trace restore mission points. Because this patch introduces the revamp for star forcing, players will pivot from 22 starring tier equips to 23, 24, and ultimately 25 stars, making the required spares and restorations significantly higher as a result. To put things into perspective, players who are already fully 22 starred will now strive towards pushing for 23 stars. On the new 30% off boom chance Starforce event, hitting a 23 star would require an average of 6 booms to go through in order to hit that. And again, this is just for 23 stars, we're talking short term here. For the long term, we're talking about 24 stars and 25 stars, with each target requiring 18 average booms and 50 average booms. 50, respectively. Now, you might say I am rushing things and need to take things slowly, and you may be right. The endgame of every MMO is never meant to be rushed. But I will get back to this topic later after I address what the systems actually turned out to be. After that, you might understand more about where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about. So, it's patch day, I update my game, I log in, I start mob hunting, and nothing. Turns out you need to accept a quest in order for the drops to actually appear. So I do just that and then get back to mob hunting. Lo and behold, I see a golden box, so I open it and then realize the star core restoration system turned out a little more complicated than expected, which turned out to not be star cores that drop, but instead the boxes that contain them, or should I say contain fragments of them, giving out 2 different pieces of ETC items, one being rarer than the other. And that's fine. Nexon said materials will be obtained from farming, and that's exactly the case here. Except, you are limited to 10 drops per day. Which, respectfully speaking, is a f***ing joke. However, the boxes you gain, and the ETC themselves from the boxes, are actually tradable within the account in heroic servers. Meaning that in order to speed up that process, you will have to farm on your main for about 40 minutes to 1 hour, as well as on your mules, which if you just focus on doing it on your main, then it ends up being almost a 2-month process in order to restore 1 item, with that item being a level 200 or below equip, a dawn set equip, or a pitched boss equip, meaning no Eternals and no brilliant boss items, from the Starcore system alone mind you. So in my case, as someone who will not be farming on mules... okay, so this is mid-editing notes. I realized this is 10 per world, not per character, so yikes. Anyways, looking at this system isolated, in order for me to hit a 23 star item, it would take me 42 weeks. That's damn near 10 months. And again, just to reiterate, we're talking about 1 23 star item. 1. So with that in mind, for 7 pitched equips, it would take me over 5.5 years to hit an average of 23 stars on all of them. But Bamba, I hear you say, you're taking things out of context here. There's 2 more restoration systems on top of that. And you're right, let's take a look at them. Let's go over the pitch PD system first. each boss that drops a pitched item will provide you with one pitched fragment. In this case, it's a crystal. And in order to get one pitched, TC not included, you would need 1/30 of the crystals. So if we do the math real quick, that's over 16 weeks for one pitched item. So we're looking at 11 months for an average of one 22 star pitched. Not 23, not 24, 22 star, just one. And yes, this does solve the freak accidents like my listed build situation. However, actually seeing that pitch is one thing, getting that to 22, let alone 23, 24 or 25, God forbid, is a different story. Can you see the absurdity in this yet? Needless to say, I was disappointed. The cost of each pitch item, considering the fact that you only get 8 crystals per week, well, is honestly kind of a disgrace. A quality of life change nevertheless, but long term, that's just not gonna cut it. And I won't be addressing the new familiar system that's gonna come up, because that is not a pity system, that is an RNG system, and we just don't know the odds yet. Moving on to the last one, we got the boss trace restoration missions, which at first I thought is as simple as just going into a boss fight, killing it, and then you get points for it, on top of being an account-wide quote-unquote currency that you can save up. Unfortunately, being able to save up points was not the case, as it has a cap of 1750 points, which cost-wise is one eternal, one brilliant boss item, or just above one pitched item. Meaning that if you happen to have at the time of the event enough points, you only get one restore. And I didn't even get yet to how many points you gain per boss. First, the conditions to get points from the system are as follows. You can only run these missions on one character per week, you have to clear a real run solo, and the points you gain depend on the mission modifiers you have selected. Meaning that if you want to run this on your main for relatively quick and easy missions, while maximizing point acquisition per week, you have to run Hard Black Mage and Hard Siren and give up running Extreme Mode. Or alternatively, if possible, suffer through this on a mule. And I say suffer because every mission contains minus 50 damage dealt and plus 20% damage taken modifiers, on top of some niche and stupid mini quest for each boss, and you're automatically down to 2 lives. So just to quickly toss the numbers aside, we're looking realistically at 97 points per week, making this an 18-week ordeal to hit the cap. I think this one is an absolute joke when taking the theme of this patch into account. Quality of life patch. Normally one would associate quality of life with the words gameplay satisfaction, comfort, convenience. This one is anything but the words I just mentioned. Aside from being able to work towards a trace restore using this system, they are practically forcing players to go out of their comfort zone, run the bosses in the most inconvenient ways, and placing them at an awkward spot where they have to pick between party bossing for the still relevant enhancement hammers, or give up the chance for a slightly faster restore, which in the long term, realistically speaking, doesn't do much. When comparing that to the KMS side of things, since their massive player base has access to the auction house, well-established players can simply buy spells of the equips they want to push towards 25 stars. From the heroic perspective, we do not have that luxury whatsoever. If you haven't stumbled upon any video or stream of a KMS player star forcing during the new 30% off boom event, to put it simply, they buy tens of pitched equips at a time and just brute force their way to 25 stars. In GMS heroic terms, this means they have quote-unquote near unlimited restores during events, so long as they have the meso and supply in the auction house. And that obviously, with the Starforce revamp being off KMS origin, is by design. Not to mention, they simply brute force their already potted and flamed items with no repercussions. In heroic servers, you either have to make a second set of each of your best in slot equips, reroll double prime potential and reflame a triple tier 6 flame on each one, or you wait an obscene amount of time and save enough spells and restores to safely keep your potted and flamed item. Which is something that any owner of a 23 star item repatch got spared from. Hence why I think these pity systems are just not good enough, not quite. Here's what I think should be changed for each of the 3 restore systems. For the Star Core restores, remove the daily cap. That's it. The fact that these are transferable between characters actually exceeded my expectations. But the cap? What the fuck? For the pitched pity system, under normal circumstances, no one would need pitched items on their boss mules when they're already at Hard Siren or normal Carlos level of Legion champs, for example. Therefore, I think it would be best to reward players for the time and effort of leveling and funding the Legion champions, or even just Chaos Tenebris mules, to that specific level, and let them transfer the pitch crystals.
So let me get this.
They let us transfer arcane boxes, as well as the newly added star specs. Why stop there? As for the trace restore missions, I mean, just stop. This is not ride or die. This is not champion double up or whatever. We don't need inconveniences on a weekly basis. This is just plain dumb, for lack of better words. Looking into the future with possible KMS patches in mind, we are bound to get a new boss or two sooner or later. These bosses, at least on the harder difficulties, will most definitely be balanced around 23 to 25 star players. Therefore, the sooner these pity systems improve, the better JMS will end up being. Anyways, whatever happens, happens. I am a fucking Kana main with nothing to look forward to for up to half a year. I didn't get lucky with hitting any single 23 star item, and leveling isn't getting any easier. Meanwhile, JMS messes up newly added content, punishes players for it with bans, promises to do better, messes up newly added content yet again, punishes players for it with bans again. And honestly, if we go further back, the list just goes on. But anyways, if you've come this far into the video, let me know what you think. I'm interested in other opinions outside of my little echo chambers. If I sound like I'm cooked out of my mind or you actually agree with some of my points, hit me up. And I hope that some of the issues I've mentioned will at some point get addressed.